position.
For planning board for June 6, 2018. Need a roll call, please.
Okay, Chair Joe Carey, are you here?
Here.
Rick Sparks, are you here?
Here.
Vice Chair, I'm sorry, Rick Sparks, are you here? Yes. Thank you. Mike Carpenter.
Here.
Ron Servacio, are you here?
I am here.
Anthony Renzi, are you here?
Yes.
Jeff Shelton, are you here?
Yes.
Helen Hardy, Secretary, myself, is also here. Staff present are Jennifer Siciliano, Planner, and Joanna Kelly, our Solicitor. And we also have town officials, Denise DeFranco and Gordon Rogers from the Town Council. And
Dennis Starry, just sitting in.
hi, Dennis.
Thank you.
The evil land trust.
Glad
The
you
evil land trust guy.
in person, and
Stephen Cormier.
Stephen
Cormier.
Cormier. I guess I should read that. And are you here as an observer or are you here as an
He's on
applicant?
the agenda.
Applicant.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Stephen Cormier. PH or B?
D.
Thank you. And whatever other.
Okay. I'll take a motion for approval of minutes for May 16th.
Move to approve the minutes for May 16th, 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. Okay, discussion?
I have to give myself the caveat that I read them online and I have old eyes, and so I think that I didn't see anything online, so probably not.
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass 7-0. Right? Guys, speak up. All right.
Joe, if you say, no, if you'd say all those in favor, not abstentions, you'd know the count.
Thank you, Ron.
I'm always willing to help.
That's all right.
That's not helpful.
It is helpful.
All
That's
right,
how
we're
you-
moving on to correspondence. Is there any correspondence this evening?
No, Anthony gave me something, but I'll hand it out when we talk about blight.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Land trust, board members' reports. You have anything, Mike?
Yeah, we just want to say we got a new member, Lon Chapman is going to be taking over as secretary. Kristen is going to resign because of her job.
Lon, L-O-N,
Yeah, LONCHAPMAN.
thank you.
And it's a big help and makes Dennis very happy because he's had to be secretary for us. And we have, there's just a couple of little things going on that are good for us. URI is doing another camera trail study, looking for bear,
Oh,
and that's going to happen
I think
on
that's
the land
the
trust property.
place on Borders One. Yeah.
And we're going to be participating in Old Home Days, and Dennis has already done a lot of work on that. With giveaway birdhouses and bat houses and all that good stuff, so that's a good thing. And the other thing that was interesting is that we're getting a grant for students to help with some of the land, some of the clearing and some of the demolition that needs to be done on some of the properties, so. And we're in the works of acquiring a couple of, actually, still working on acquiring additional properties of the land trust, which should complement existing land trust properties, because they're all right adjacent to them. No big plots of land, just small pieces. So that's a good thing.
Good, thank you.
Can you remind me to tell you, I have the name of a student who wants a public service, some public service thing soon, and you might have it before Borders Farm does. Okay, so remind me to tell you before we leave. Sorry, I apologize.
You're out of order.
As usual.
Okay, Rick, did you have anything from conservation?
Yeah, I did, actually, I'd written a report that I left at home. They met about 2 weeks ago, Dennis was there, is that, do you remember the date, was that the 21st? A couple weeks ago, I think. But they talked about assessing the Eco Depot and what they might do different in the future. They wanted to be briefed on some of the issues that the planning board was discussing, so I told them we were discussing, or things that we might be discussing in the future: economic development, wellhead protection areas, groundwater protection plan. And they're gearing up for, they just had a booth at Foster Old Home Days, and they're gearing up to decide what presentations and materials they want to provide for that. And that's about it. Is there anything significant? But they're an enthusiastic group, and they're doing a lot.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is a modification of a minor subdivision final plan conditions of approval. The modification to conditions for approval of a final plan of a subdivision, Batty Minor Subdivision, Maple Rock Road. The final plan was approved on November 16th, 2007, recorded on April 29th, 2009. A single 17.16 acre parcel being Plat 18, Lot 43, divided into 3 lots in AR district. Required shared driveway, appropriate driveway easement are requested to be removed from the final plan approval. Everybody in the packets had a copy of the papers from this subdivision. The applicant asked him to remove the easement for the shared driveway so he can put his own driveway in. Did anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question. Why, or no, this may not be for Mr. Cormier. Cormier?
Either way,
How do you say it?
Cormier.
Cormier. In the original subdivision, I can see it was non-residential compound, so I wonder why there was originally a shared driveway.
I believe it said, did it say in the minutes, it was just,
I'm sorry.
we have the minutes from the meeting.
Okay, I apologize. Those
It's
are
okay.
I read Mr. Cormier's letter, but I didn't have the everything's on my computer. Okay, gotcha.
While we're looking that up, can I ask, where's your intention to put this other driveway?
Well, actually, before I'm gonna answer that in 2 seconds, I just wanted to say my intention was not to remove the easement, it was just to create a separate entryway to that easement. So as not to have one giant easement and one big opening in the middle for both entrances. I'm trying to get away from a shared area. And
Okay, we got that, so now I got that, so where, because I don't see it on the drawings, where are you intending to put this other driveway?
I did the drawing, I did provide, should have
Did you already draw it?
to the.
Yes,
can you
take a look at that, just make sure we're looking at the right thing?
Yes, this is the new proposed.
And is that yours?
So,
Yes, correct, both of them, I've got them both right now.
so,
So you
I
spend
don't
this
want
here?
to.
so you're just, all
This
you're,
is already installed,
Is this the property line?
yes.
What do you need an easement for?
The easement's already here, this driveway is already slightly on that property line, and so this driveway, this whole thing is already installed. My intention was just to create a separate opening here. That's
okay,
all I'm looking for.
okay, so this piece is what you're trying to create.
Correct.
All right, so does everybody know what he's trying to create?
No, I don't.
All right, so could you explain it to everyone?
Fine. Thanks. Thank you.
So that's the original subdivision.
Let's open it up so I can see what that's. Okay, because I have, this is on,
Yeah.
it's on Maple Road. Yes, it's on Maple Road. And so I have an extremely dim memory. I can't remember 5 minutes ago.
Sure.
But I have a dim memory that the reason for the shared driveway had to do with sight distance.
That's right.
Is that right, Ron?
That's right. So if you look at the drawing, you'll see this opening is right on a curve, okay? So that depending on, that's why I asked the intention, it could become a blind driveway. So I'm not sure that what has been picked here doesn't create a hazard, okay? So, that's, you get it.
All right,
Okay.
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
I visited the location today, and
I'm sorry.
there's already 2 driveways right across the street. Am I at the right place? 57?
No.
No,
There's an old
57.
home across the street that burned down a while ago.
I must have meant the wrong place.
Vacant. The address was very confusing.
Yeah, it was just like, I went by the pole numbers.
I stated in that application, there are no driveways within, other than
Yes,
vacant
I read that.
within 200 feet.
And they're on the other side of the street
Correct.
with vision of the curve.
But what is this pole 58, 57 and a half? That's where I was, I was sort of,
If you're speaking of the 2 driveways that are already there, those are the ones that are proposed. The driveways are already in as proposed.
okay.
I'm looking to modify that.
Oh, my,
So
I'm
you
on
may-
the wrong side of the street. Are you on the west side?
East side.
East side.
Okay, so yes, there's a foundation going in?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the currently, and that's.
So I was at the right place, but I was looking.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask the planner if, has the DPW director gone up and looked at this at all? I know you had gotten some information on this a while back.
Yeah, so he hasn't yet. You must have gotten a
He
permit,
came up
he
with
cure
a position.
permit for the one that you put in.
Correct.
Right.
That was approved already.
So,
Brett gave you the permit,
yeah.
the building, but Bob Moore hasn't looked at it at all.
DPW came out and initially approved Lot B on there. Lot B is already.
Driveway.
Yeah, driveway for Lot B.
Right.
Well, he actually, I mean, I assume they approved this. As proposed, he came out and looked at it. This is all.
There are too many,
I saw it.
there are too many people talking right now, and I'm trying to take minutes.
This one's.
Ron,
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get
No.
minutes and I can't.
solicitor's trying to clarify something.
I think Brett would be the one to issue the permit, not,
Well, the DPW director does the driveway permit,
Yes, I believe that's right.
because I know they did, Well, I was curious, I know in the applications that it says that the easement would be removed, but he is requesting that the easement be removed. So you'd like to keep the easement, you just want to move open up the driveways for.
Just separate entrances to the same. area.
Right, so but just, you still have the easement's already on the deed.
Yes.
So you wouldn't change the deed to that, you just want to separate the driveways.
Yeah, because as I said, this is already sold, and I wouldn't want to have to, this is all landscaped, I wouldn't want to have to change.
Okay. So I want to ask the solicitor, maybe the planner, if he isn't removing the easement from the deeds, is he changing the decision? Is there other authority to grant the driveway
Well, this is
from
the
the
thing,
from the DPW or the building official?
the driveway still needs to get
Right.
a permit. But in terms of the planning board, the final plan has been recorded, that the one that he has with the shared driveway. But then in addition to that, there were conditions that explicitly said that there would be a shared driveway. And that's really why I brought him here, was because you wanna, if if you vote to change that, he would want to have that decision recorded. So I don't believe he has to change the site plan itself, but as long as there's a record that you could have the separate. And I think what you had told me is the future owner of the property wants a separate.
They've requested that I
They
ask.
requested.
Yes,
Yes.
because as I've said, I've already installed it as proposed on that map. They've asked me to request that they have their own entrance.
Could I ask everyone to look at this map, this other map,
A small one.
the small map,
Okay.
with the degrees of the curbs and what do you call it? If you look at that map, you very quickly find out why the driveway is where it is, because it's in the middle of two bad spots and a dip. So in order for him to get, believe me, I don't care, he should get to one of these curves, so he has full vision left and right, or he should get past the curve. But if you look at this small map, this shows you that the driveway is right in the middle. That's why I asked for his intention, because I looked at this map up here, you got the degrees of,
Are you saying it should be there, or are you saying it should not?
that's why it is there. That's why it is there.
And I think what Jennifer, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
if I can, I think what Jennifer just said was that, and I think what Ron is remembering better than me, is that that was a condition because of the safety issue of the driveway. That's why that driveway is where it is, because I didn't go back over there, but at that time, we did walk it, right, Ron? And
I didn't, but I just looked at this map and didn't remember.
And that we just didn't feel like the other, we felt that was just creating an unsafe condition.
It doesn't say any of that, I'm just saying in the minutes, it
No,
doesn't
it's
say a
not.
reason.
Yeah, but it does say that
That's what you,
there was a condition.
It was-
And I can't see
why is that?
any other reason, because it has the acreage and it has and Ron and I are both diddly remembering the.
Can I add something? I didn't bring him with me tonight, but Brian Carpenter is the one who initially was in charge of subdividing that.
Okay, yeah,
And what he told me, I should have brought him because I thought it would be in the minutes, he told me explicitly at that time, there was a movement to try to keep shared driveways as much as possible in order to not have a bunch of curb cuts on the road. He said that was the reason that was approved like that.
and I'm gonna
Maybe
say,
he's incorrect.
well, the reason he's saying that is because, is it okay for me to keep
Yes,
talking?
go
Ron, you please, go ahead if you.
No, I'm
feel
done,
like you-
I'm done.
He's saying that because in a residential compound, it does require a shared driveway. But this could not have been a resident, is not, I mean, it's not in a residential compound because it doesn't have 30 acres. And so I know it's not a residential compound. So there was some other reason, and we are both remembering that it was a safety reason. And I do not see the debate listed in the minutes from the 2007 meeting, but
I can
we are
completely,
both
I can
remembering.
see why that's an issue,
Yeah.
mainly from the opposite side though, and that's where the real problem, that one corner is terrible. And the current driveway is actually closest to that. I would be going opposite that, away from that. That corner is terrible. And the DPW director did ask me, in fact, to remove as much brush as possible so we had a clear line of sight there. And that's something we're doing now. The other way is much more visible, and it actually curves away from the driveway. And the line of sight is very easy to see from that side. And that's the side I'm proposing to enter from that other driveway. I completely agree that that is a nightmare.
What's the distance between the two driveways?
Roughly 40 feet, where the
What?
current opening is already to the next one.
To the one that you want to put in 40 feet?
Correct.
Would that make a difference?
I just want to say that if you look at the minutes of September 19th of 2007, and you look at number 5 on the second page of those minutes, 2 of the lots share common driveway. However, this was done at the request of the planning board for a safer ingress and egress to the lots. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where
It's
are-
very little writing.
That was 11 years ago.
In their opinion.
We've had multiple rollovers on that corner. I've dug kids out of cars several times on that corner.
I have a question for Mr. Cormier. So, that's where you want to locate it, there's a little hill there that's going more towards the hill.
The little hill is further away. I would be moving further away from that terrible corner, that way, in the other opposite.
Towards 101 or the other
Towards
one?
101.
I thought that the hill was right at pole 58.
Which one are you talking about, the bad corner?
The bad corner is the one where I did the perks on that property. The west side has a better sight line distance, and the driveway he's talking about was there for 200 years. It's the old Witch Hill Farm in the original house.
Yeah,
The other side is the inside, and that is a pretty dangerous corner. Like I've said multiple times, we've had 2 times we've had kids leaving school, of course, accidents.
All right, can I make
But if he's moving it towards, the 101 end, then he's
worse.
moving it
Towards
the
the
hill. So wouldn't it be better sight distance?
Is he on the west, is he on the, is the driveway, I don't have the print, so I don't know where he's moving.
May I make a motion in the affirmative? So I move in the motion in the affirmative that we allow the applicant, to have 2 driveways.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Is
One side of the
is
corner,
that
the
your
other's still
second?
bad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Discussion?
Can I,
Point of order, I just would say that we need to revisit the motion, or can we just take a motion if you want?
No, that's, no, you do not have to read that.
okay, so, Ron, what your motion is, was to allow Mr. Cormier to create.
Right, that's not a statement of how we're gonna vote, that's to allow him to have 2 driveways, that's
2
requested.
driveways.
As requested.
Motion in the affirmative.
Okay, and,
Jeff seconded.
I got that, yes,
Now we have discussion.
okay.
Alright. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Right.
I think that in light of the discussion, which is actually recorded on the minutes from September
Thank you.
2007, that it would be irresponsible of the board to approve the location of the driveway, which was then deemed dangerous or caused there was an accident. I do believe that the town would, in that case, be perhaps liable, since the previous board had made it a condition due to safety. And therefore, I feel as though there should be, and I don't know how to do this, there should be some kind of a condition that it be approved by the police chief or the public works director. Is that appropriate?
Well, the
Or
public
is that
works-
not their job?
You can ask for them to supply an opinion and come back. If that's where you were interested.
Well, I was concerned, if I may. I don't feel comfortable, approving it without seeing it, what I mean? It's something that was on the agenda this week, and, we haven't had a chance to, all go out there and see it, so I can't have a real opinion of what if it is a safety hazard or not, without, actually viewing it myself, so it's difficult to really decide without going out there. And obviously, we just found out about this being on agenda Monday, so, we haven't had a chance. I haven't had a chance.
I agree, I'd like to take another look at it. Now, what I need to look at.
I mean, we can table it, or, continue it to the next meeting, or we can vote on it.
It's very simple in front of us, okay? I'd like to move some things off the agenda. You've got the last board's request, you have the small print that clearly describes or shows why that driveway is there. You have the minutes of the last meeting. It's about time to just pony up and vote, yes or no. Okay, let's get this over with and move on to the next item. But table
I just
it.
haven't discussed, I said, I don't feel comfortable making a decision.
So you make a motion to
I'll
table
it
and
for
see,
myself.
make a motion to table it and see how the vote goes.
I can't make a motion to adjourn.
Well, then,
I was just making a statement, Mr. Serrazio.
well, good, then I would like somebody, if they believe Joe is right.
I
don't
would
know-
just ask if there's any further
Did you-
discussion at this point.
All right, so I'm saying,
The discussion I have right now, okay, I'm gonna jump in right now. We've all had this packet a week ago.
We got a month.
She sent an email, which,
Yes.
before that,
yes,
that this was on it. I get my packet, because you send out the emails, everything's on the email.
I got my email on Monday night.
no.
Okay. No, I mean,
Is there a motion to table?
It's not really gonna hurt anything to postpone it if there's an issue of public safety and we want.
Well, it's up to the board, if you wanna vote on it, we can vote on it.
You literally are gonna meet in 2 weeks, so.
I'll make a motion, boy, it'd be nice to run a meeting.
It's a motion.
I make a
table.
motion to table.
second.
There you go. Have a vote, Joe.
Can I check that with Brian first motion?
No,
Yes.
no, Joe wants to move it, so there's a motion and a second to table.
A second.
He said,
Anthony seconded.
I'm going home.
good.
Sorry.
All right, Joe.
You took it back here?
You're the vice chair.
Yep.
You have a motion and a second.
Yep, so, is there any more discussion on it? Then let's vote. All those in favor? The table? The table. Say aye. Aye. Motion passed. No, sorry.
As for,
Opposition, abstention.
Any opposed?
Yes,
What are you, opposed?
opposed. So the vote is
4 to.
5-1.
Jeff, I don't know what you voted, I'm sorry. You
On
voted
order the table.
To table.
5-1.
So Anthony, Jeff, Mike, Helen, and Rick voted to table.
And I voted no.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know that
Sorry.
it's all right.
They're gonna talk to me, solve this.
Okay.
So will we place on our next agenda?
Yeah,
Which
in
is
2
the-
weeks,
Okay.
will you be able to?
Certainly, I'll mark the
You know-
driveway clearly for everybody else, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go, well, I just want to be doubly sure.
I hope that people will look at it, that's
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
certainly.
Okay, can we move on to the next item?
The 20th.
So it's June 20th,
So
so next.
this will be, and I'm sorry, I do,
John, 101 side, no side, that's all paperwork.
So it's the house we're on, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go toward the one that's
and you
toward,
want to
go
table,
down the
table it to a certain,
If the corner's before the driveway,
It's
comes
June
going.
Next meeting.
20th.
okay.
So I'm getting further away from that, 'cause I already
Anthony, he said he was gonna mark it out so that you can see where it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if you want to have a group walk or everybody's on.
I'd rather let everyone go when it's convenient.
to them.
And we don't have to post it.
Yeah,
Walmart's not going up there, it's a 40-foot driveway.
it's your road.
Okay.
Okay, we good on that issue? That item? All right. Next item on the agenda is the blight ordinance
Okay.
enforcement.
I'd like to talk about some things, we'll hand out some things. So,
It's not on this, like, that's what I was worried about.
great. things while I'm handing them out. So I talked to Rhett today, and I showed him some of these anti-blight ordinances that other communities have, that Anthony shared with me in Connecticut. And he said to me that there is a state ordinance called the Property Maintenance Code, and that covers most of the time what you consider to be blight. But communities in Rhode Island have done things above and beyond. So this is information about that. It isn't the full, and I'll tell you, he does not have a copy of this, but he will be ordering a copy. So I wasn't able to, we tried to download it online, and the state forces you to buy a paper copy. So I don't have that yet. But it would be good for us to look at that, so that if we want to add things to it, we could. So Anthony had given me blight ordinances for Putnam and Griswold. And I had downloaded some interesting ones from Hopkinton, and this is from Westerly. And basically this is maintenance of vacant and abandoned buildings, so these are things that they did in addition to, the state code.
So are we looking to review all this stuff and come up with our own?
I think that it's a discussion item, and I think Anthony put it on so that we could all talk about how we feel about how to, about the issues on Route 6 and blight. And if you don't have issues, you don't have issues. If you do, what you might.
Mr. Chair, may I make a suggestion? That at this point, our discussion be a general discussion. Everybody has this information, go home and review it. I would suggest a way to do this that is each person, from what we have, the computation of information we have, build a list of importance of blight 1 through 12. And we come back with the computation and we send them to the planner, and the planner build that computation, and there may be some we don't want to deal with, and there may be some specifically that you want added, and that's when we have this discussion, because right now, I don't know how,
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
so,
That's a good suggestion.
And I mean, I don't know if we could find another town that we could just plagiarize.
well, that's what you're basically doing, you're stealing everybody's ideas.
Yeah.
Nobody makes it up from
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Because it takes a lot of time.
Yes.
So I can try to scan these for electronic too, if you want.
But we have,
You have them paper, okay.
I'm sorry, ask.
Sure, go ahead.
This is the state code, state building code?
Well, what this is just the changes to the property code. The actual full code, you have to buy it. So what was interesting is that it's considered building code, and Brett would be enforcing it, and he does not have a copy of it, so. He realized that today.
so if you had a building that had a fire 2 years ago, and it's still there, that's probably
in
could
here.
deal with that without knowing the exact code you needed.
Well, it still would be a good idea.
No, I
mean, is it a case that we gotta purchase
Yes.
a code to have available?
I
Sure,
think the
that's what
state
he's
line
gonna go
down
ahead
had a
and do
fire
that.
2 years ago.
The state one that you have with the codes, a lot of it has to do with major things, fires that burn down, or houses that burn down, and
Yes.
things like that, and that code comes in. Now, for a little FYI, for your information, as I'm not one to, I know what I don't like to see, and I didn't realize any of that until I started researching a lot of these towns that have their own blight ordinances. We're probably one of the only towns in the state of Rhode Island that doesn't have their own blight ordinance, okay? In fact, I think there's only one other town, and even a town more rural than us, Hopkinton, obviously you pulled that one up, which is pretty impressive. And when I started looking, the only reason why these close ones to Connecticut came up is because that's where the computer is, you know, allow where your location is, boom, so those are the closest towns that came up. So then I started looking through the rest of Rhode Island, and everybody has some sort of a blight ordinance. And it goes anywhere from, some towns are stricter than others, some towns, as far as even the grass grown, some let it go to 36 inches, and some let it go to 24 inches before they come down on you. But I will tell you this, every single one that I've read, half of Route 6 would be in violation to these codes right here. So I think what Ron said, we pick our own little things and read what we have here and put it together and come up with an ordinance, but there's a lot of people that did a lot of work before we're gonna do it, so it should make it a little simpler for us to do that. But amongst that, we'll probably have rumors running around the town that we're gonna knock down buildings and, you know, and the planning board wants to condemn buildings and throw people out of their businesses and so forth, so we have to live with that, okay? And the second thing would be, is we need some sort of procedures and things in place before we come up with something like this, otherwise we're back into the same thing that the old town of Forster does, which means, yep, we'll put it in, but we don't do anything about it. So if we're not gonna do the right way,
Well, we gotta begin by putting it in.
correct. But we've gotta make sure that when, along with us putting it in, fine, a lot of these towns have just a blight ordinance guy. They all have blight ordinance complaint forms, a lot of them have an officer that goes and does that. So there's a lot of little things that I've seen in some of these other towns that I don't think we can have or do, but.
We have this, I don't wanna call him the new guy, but we have this secondary building, official, yeah. And so I think he's been pretty effective, and if we put this into play, that would give him a lot more work, so.
Correct.
I think he could really jump on this.
Excuse me. To follow Anthony's, and I'm gonna say again, the attorneys are here to answer questions. To follow Anthony, okay, I went in to file a formal complaint. I've never filed a complaint, and I asked the new assistant building inspector, where is the form for me to sign my name? And there doesn't seem to be, but when Heidi was on, it was Heidi, Steve Belushi, and Ralph Berkowitz, the building inspector could not take a complaint unless somebody signed their name. Now, you talk about procedures. I can't get a form to sign my name, so I don't know if Rhett ever got the form, and there's no procedures of received complaint on, viewed complaint on, finding on complaint, okay? So, the ordinance is one thing, okay? But I don't know how that has, I'm sorry, I wanted the audience, it's been, I guess, 15 years, 12 years, and somehow that's been lost. Where's the form? I couldn't even sign my name. And the answer I got about my complaint was, well, he's trying to sell the building, so he'd asked if I'd hold off. Now, if my complaint is valid, and the organization is in violation, how could we allow this guy, person, woman, to sell this to somebody else to run something that's in violation? Okay? So,
Can I just interrupt you for a second?
yes.
What kind of violation is this?
Well-
A building inspection violation?
Yes.
So I think that we're really off topic and borderlining on OMA, because that's not.
Thank you. All right. That was my general discussion.
Okay, so we're gonna prepare a summary of important points each person and get them to the planner, and we're gonna try and synthesize a blight ordinance.
Or points or things that you would like to see in them, or that you would
Yeah.
like in this.
This is,
I think Ron's suggestion, and Ron, correct me please, was that we look at the ordinances that we've been given, come up with a dozen, you said, items that,
You come up with 4 or 5, it doesn't have to be 12, 4 or 5 things.
and whatever anybody thinks is important.
yeah,
Yeah, up to.
to a dozen, whatever. And things that are important to you.
Do we come back with them Tuesday, or we give you ahead of time and you dissect them?
Yeah,
I would come back with them Tuesday and, with our ideas and.
By Tuesday?
No, not, I mean, the next
You mean
meeting.
the next
That's what I
meeting
meant,
by
I'm sorry.
the 20th.
Yeah, the next meeting, I think, just bring out, like, you know, like we did, so they don't have to, be distributed all over town before they even get here. Okay?
that's a good idea.
All right, we good to move on, as soon as Howard's done, right?
I'm sorry.
It's all right, I'm not criticizing. I want you to be accurate, I know how to just to do that. I can't even read my writing.
I can't read my writing. Rita can't read my
I don't
writing.
know if Jennifer can read any of my writing.
As long as Carol can.
Right.
I'll ask a question.
On what? This?
Well, I did say I was gonna talk about Mark, is that what you
More?
Well, yeah, it kind of ties in. One of the questions I had for you is.
Wait a minute, what are we talking about? I thought we were done on the blight ordinance, and so the next item on the agenda is commercial zoning on Route
It's
6.
probably why I was going like this.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
Nobody called on me. I raised my hand like I
Oh,
was supposed
okay, well,
to. Once again,
make yourself known if I don't.
It's actually the way these tables are formed.
Yeah, I was
okay?
just going to say, Jeff, you're the least visible. Normally, when somebody has their
I'm
hand up,
invisible.
I can,
I passed some invisible one about 100 pounds ago.
Okay.
and so normally I can, if there's somebody trying to raise their hand, I can usually, say, but I didn't see it either.
Or just say something, so.
You're-
The only thing
Go
the only thing I wanted to say was, if this is the state building code, do they have any hand in enforcing it? Okay, and then as a tie-in, I had talked to you in your office about, what has Mark been doing? And I understand he's done some of this stuff. I kind of wanted to figure out what he's already done before we,
How about if I
Cross
get the
paths,
list,
huh?
how about if I get the list from him of what he's done on Route 6? If
Okay.
he's done anything.
okay.
I believe he has. So I can have that ready for the meeting.
Now, okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is commercial zoning on Route 6.
And I have wonderful maps.
Oh,
We have those.
Good maps.
all right. Could I, while you're handing out the maps, may I address this?
Sure.
At the last meeting, Helen did the most interesting thing. She talked about the history. And there's a learning and teaching part of her history. Where we are, maybe how we got there, but there were no conclusions. So I'm going to possibly offer one conclusion. My friend Jeff, who's not going to get mad, had a suggestion of building a kiln to draw boards, to dry boards. So in order for Jeff, a suggestion's wonderful, but for Jeff to do his suggestion, he would have to get some money. And in order to get money, he'd have to have a business plan, which would have a market analysis, a marketing plan, a cash flow expectation, and a time to profitability. Now, all the suggestions that were offered were our suggestions, but none of us are willing to do what a banker would ask us to do. In order to capitalize your loan, I would like you to bring in the deed of your house, your numbered bank accounts, and if that's not enough, I'd like to hold your pension in reserve to get this loan. So this is what we did last time. Last time the planning board came up with all our ideas of what belonged in Foster, but that's not what the planning board should do. The planning board should be, as an advisory board to the council, the planning board should be building zoning to allow Jeff, after he's got his loan, to walk in and build his building. Because we don't care if he makes money. Once he builds the building, he pays taxes, or if he goes out of business, the bank pays taxes. So our job here is to talk about zoning. In my opinion and my analysis, the last meeting was a complete waste of time, because our ideas aren't worth anything if we're not able to put our house give to a bank. What we need is somebody to walk in to this board and there's a zone ready for them. Versus we see if we like what they're doing. Because bottom line, the council needs money. So that's my analysis of what happened last time, and it's all off of Helen's, and she did a good job with the history. Anthony talked about zoning. I talked about what's our competitive advantage. Our competitive advantage is having a zone ready for Jeff to build his kiln.
Well, I don't necessarily agree.
Well, I know that. I knew when I started it. No, I agree, but
Wait, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I apologize. I'm out of order, but I just want to be clear. So your suggestion is that we decide on a zone of some particular kind that we created.
right, and we don't create it. We advise the council, or we ask the council.
We recommend.
Right, we did the work. This is what we think, and then really, truthfully, they're in charge.
The council, right.
That last meeting was about, what's your idea? Oh, boy, that's a great idea. I'll build an electric-fired something that'll give everybody in town cheap electricity. Well, where's the money coming from?
Okay, so
Well,
that
you're
we
right.
create zones of some kind.
And I had a zone I was gonna bring, yes.
And different than the general business mixed uses.
Yes, I had an actual new zone I wanted to bring forward, and there was some breakdown. I can't figure it out. It got to be a breakdown of communication of what I was trying to do. So I'll try again to bring a whole new zone that nobody's ever heard of before. I'm gonna try that this time. I'll put it in writing because,
Okay.
Then you have a paper
That would
trail.
be helpful.
And so.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, protect myself.
And so, I'm saying, Ron suggested that we create zones that would specifically invite a particular kind
Right,
of business.
yes.
Okay.
Jeff's Kiln or,
Well, I have a question, and I'm certainly no expert on zoning, but don't we already have those in commercial general use?
I think
Business
20 years
use
they are
and
zoned, it's
industrial.
failed miserably.
Well, how do you know it's zoning? Maybe people just don't want to come here, there's no reason to come here.
AR zoning does not lend itself to commercial. You're talking,
Well, that's-
mostly it was small businesses,
Maybe
Maybe
most of the
retail.
people in town don't want commercial.
well, you know what?
but they still gotta pay for the town.
The town has to run. And you're running for council, so you ought to talk to Gordon about the money available to the
I'm
town.
running for council.
That's what I heard, but who knows?
Okay. Like I said before, in order to have some sort of significant impact to the tax base, you're gonna need something like $10 million worth of additional accessible property value, and that would give you about $300,000 in added revenue a year. And, I mean, Mike, I'm open to discussing this, but what kind of businesses do you
Okay.
target that's gonna translate into
You asked-
an improve, can you let me finish?
Yeah, fine.
Provide that kind of magnitude of improvement and base. I'm just curious,
Okay, so,
I'm sorry, because I'm behind.
okay?
So you said in order to generate 300, how much?
$300,000 in tax
$300,000
revenue,
tax
you need about
revenue.
$10 million in added accessible value.
Okay. Thank you.
And I mean, I look at Route 6 and I see accident. I ride Route 3 a lot. They've got a few restaurants, a gas station, a scrap yard, and a few little businesses. And I don't see Route 6 as being any different than that. I don't really see why anyone is even gonna wanna come there,
okay.
for the most part, but, so I'm, you know. if
Okay,
that's
so
the
you
way it is, I'm-
asked, you asked a question, so I'm waiting to answer.
Okay, go ahead.
We had requests from Targets, BJ's, Staples, Cambio to build an elderly, upper end elderly housing
How
center.
big?
I'm gonna, without asking the audience again, I'm gonna say 200 units of 300,000.
And how are you gonna handle the sewage?
He was gonna build his own sewage treatment plant. Okay, so, again, it doesn't matter. We lost warehousing. Warehousing's done. Retail is done. So, whole new idea. It's not our idea. It's having a zone that somebody who has an idea is willing to put forth their money.
Okay, you're gonna hate me for this.
No, I don't
but,
hate anybody. I could care.
I mean, I'm into 3 years on the planning board, and I didn't know the comprehensive plan existed until I got on the planning board.
Yeah.
But it is our guide document, it's a document that, and it's been prepared to guide us and the town council on how to manage the town. And, people want to protect the town, they don't want rampant commercial growth in the town. So I'm just getting the feeling that what you're thinking about is so big
I'm not-
that,
A Staples warehouse would ruin the town?
well, how much money are you gonna get at it? Well, first of all, it's hypothetical. Is there Staples
No.
that wants to come in here?
Well, not anymore.
Let me ask you this, the thing that I see is everybody gets this whole panic, we're gonna bring commercial to Forster. Have you been to Brooklyn? Hold on.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful, gorgeous cow farm in Brooklyn, a 9 away from 3 or 4 car dealerships. And behind the cow farm, and on the other side of the car dealerships, they're a little more rural than we are and a lot nicer. So there is only that one strip of Route 6, and every town has a little bit, even Exeter has a little bit more than we have. If you don't get a tattoo and get drunk in this town, you can't do anything, okay? So in reality, the only thing that I bring up and that I'm questioning is the only place is valuable and reasonable to do some sort of commercial business would be Route 6. Now, I'm not saying bring it on Cucumber where I live, or on, you live on 94, or wherever you live, I don't know, okay? Because, yeah, I don't want it there either, but Route 6 is the only viable piece of commercial area. That should be our little strip.
Okay.
I 101.
Oh, yeah, 101 or whatever happened, but like I said the other day, this one is the most important one to keep it going and to get it started. Once you can get one thing going, then maybe you can do something else.
But a lot of these places, 101, it's divided up into residential areas. I mean, there are houses built there.
That's why you
There's-
rezone.
There's large landowners there, like, I think it's the Cadies, they're not,
But right now, we're just talking about Route 6.
Okay, so, that's right.
okay.
When-
Okay.
Jeff, there's Jeff here.
I just want to say, you said, you know, everyone's in a panic. Well, we're not in a panic. The only panic I see is that people want to get something done right now and change everything. And it should be a deliberative process. And it shouldn't be a rush to judgment where everyone just thinks, it's like throwing mud against the wall. Well, it sounds good, it sounds good. So I want to see some specifics, I want to see some quantitative analysis. I want to see something other than just, we got to do this. And I don't think you can do it like that. So let's have the discussion and see what you got to
No question,
propose.
oh, you have to have, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I agree with you that you can't do it overnight. I don't think anybody argues that point. Nobody is. But if you want to have a slow deliberative process, without defining the slow deliberative process, what are we gonna do? Wait 5 more years and have 5 more years worth of damage? Okay? AR zoning has not worked for us.
For you, that's
No,
your
it hasn't
opinion.
worked for the town.
Well, I don't know that.
I don't know that the chair should be involved in an argument, I think the chair should run the meeting.
Well,
Anyway,
okay.
let me
So that's the
Wait a minute,
chair.
wait, one at a time. Let me
I
speak
really like
now.
to finish what I started.
Finish,
Okay.
and then I want to say something.
We've lost more business than we've gained. Okay, I said this at the last meeting, and I don't think anybody paid attention to it, but we're building a house on Route 6, first one in 32 years. I think the slow and delivered thing is over,
Okay,
all right,
in
now,
your opinion.
okay, yeah.
And in a democracy,
I
your
think-
opinion
I
is as
think
good as
yours.
somebody else's opinion.
We're the planning board for a town that needs to survive. Okay, it needs to pay its bills. Okay, there is no plan if you don't take that
I
into
would like to
consideration.
see as part of the quantitative, what do we need for money? How much money do we need?
Well, when,
What's our
is
target?
that the question?
Yes,
You want an answer?
yeah.
Okay. We're a $14 million business. You're an accountant, sort of, or whatever you do, right? It's a $14 million business.
Yeah.
Wait, let's do it different. Let's do 12 million. The
Well, we
region-
are 14.
Well, let's
so
do it, yeah, but let me
14.
make it easy. At 12 million, the region is 4, the Payne School is 4, and the town is 4. We had lots of money when the region wasn't taking its 4, and when the Payne School wasn't taking its 4. Now that they're starting to take their 4, we've been running not on 4, we've been running on 6 or 8 because they haven't been taking theirs. When we get down to our 4, we're broke. That's it. We're refurbishing a 1988 highway truck. Do you think a 1988 highway truck should be refurbished, or do you think we should replace
I
it?
don't want to get into the.
Oh, okay. Well, you asked the
Okay,
question.
yeah. Anything we get helps, Richard. Anything we get helps. We gave up, not we, I'm not on it. You guys on the board, the last 3 years gave up one of the best pieces of commercial property on Route 6 for $15,000 worth of tax revenue, and not allowed anybody to do something else or whatever. And I had a zoning board member tell me, I'd rather look at a solar farm than a strip mall. I don't know, a 3-4 little,
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I'm referring to the solar farm that's next to
Route 6.
Route 6, it's an
The
old
first one.
which is the flattest, nicest pieces one of the nicest pieces of commercial property that was there, okay, and we allowed a solar farm to go.
When you finish,
I'm so sorry, but that piece of property was actually, had been quarried illegally.
Had been what?
It had been quarried illegally. It actually had something like $63,000 of fines on it. It wasn't a beautiful, you're talking about the solar farm up on.
All they did is cut trees and
Level
stripped it and leveled it, made it flat,
Yeah, they
and we didn't even collect all the fines. We let the guy off the hook for most of them.
Well, then we did, that's true, we did make some.
Okay, so what did we gain?
But I'm so sorry, I'm not understanding you. That's a business. What,
Well, you know, Helen, I don't know if
I'm not understanding, do you have a problem with the solar farm or the creation of the solar?
Try.
Yeah, I do have a problem with the solar farm. Not all solar farms, I have a problem where you want to put them up. That's my problem. where you want to-
Let me try for.
wait a minute.
Okay,
Wait a
sorry.
minute. So I want to speak after him. Solar farm, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have any, or wouldn't.
So I'm just gonna say, we're supposed to be talking about commercial zoning on Route 6 and encouraging it and what we're gonna do
Okay,
to
I'm
change.
sorry.
So a lot of the discussion is, I don't like this, I don't like this, so maybe we should shift from that and start focusing on what are the ideas to actually start changing zoning.
Okay, so.
Okay, wait a minute, let's, if you have a zoning model, whatever.
I cannot because I asked specifically for it to be on the agenda, so I'll address, and this is Route 6 zoning, all right? And Anthony's suggestion and Helen's question, that flat piece of property that was developed after fines or any of the rest of it, if it was a 1, 2, 3, 4 warehouses, storage facilities, as on Comstock Parkway, everybody familiar with Comstock Parkway, right? Or down at 102, down the end at 95. So that piece of property, that the acreage, how many, 47?
Yeah.
47 acres, would be a commercial area, and I'll go back to, you give up a piece to save the rest. Now, solar farms are gonna be handled by the council, so that's part of this suggestion, but there's 94 and Route 6, except for a little bit of swamp there. There's Route 6, what is that, Things Made Best, or Bees Buzz, or whatever it is.
Things made better.
Things Made Better. So there are parcels on Route 6, large parcels, and if any of you are familiar with Massachusetts, if somebody wants to put in a commercial site, we got lots of back woodlands. They buy a house, tear it down, and put a driveway, and you never see what's in the woods. So, I'm not suggesting Route 6 zoning, that it be strip mall or business after business. But that particular solar farm, Route 6, developed in a different way with different zoning, would have been invaluable to this town. And I'll go back to the question you asked me. All the businesses I mentioned were, interestingly enough, were located or tried to locate, or their interest was on Shipley Schoolhouse Road or Cucumber Hill Road and the 395 Exchange. So we, in AR zoning, and I don't know if that was zoned AR or all of it was commercial, but 47 acres was it commercial, all of it out? I don't think so.
Only the first floor.
Okay.
450.
All right, so 450 feet, and then AR didn't do anything for this town, okay? So my suggestion is, no, it's it's Anthony's suggestion, I'm gonna let him put his own suggestion forward. Anthony, finish, do your thing.
Wait a minute. We gotta move this thing along. What is the
Yeah,
purpose of these
can
maps?
I explain the maps? Yes. So, this one with the legend on front, it is all of Route 6, I believe there's 4 maps. And, the other one is just the same thing without the, parcel numbers. I thought it was a little bit, cluttered, if you had trouble seeing it.
I'm having all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so the, if you see the gray over the parcels, those are the ones that are, GVM.
Which ones?
The ones that are kind of
Lighter
gray,
Okay, I'm gonna write it in.
right?
so this sort of blue-gray.
The blue-gray, and you can kind of tell because they follow the parcel line.
Yeah.
And then all of these other colors are wetlands, and it explains which wetlands they are. I mean, I don't know if you need to know, but those are all wetlands.
All the green,
All that green is
Brown.
all wetlands, yep. So in the table, it's by plat and lot, so you can see the size and the address of the different properties. What I should do is find out what the frontage is, but that's a little bit more involved, because I literally have to like measure it within the program. It's not within the data, so it's gonna take a while to do each one. But that's an important part, is to know how much frontage is on it.
So about frontage, if they have 50 feet of frontage,
Can I just clarify something for
Sure.
yourself? Where's Whitman before Lawrence?
right here.
Where is Whitman?
is this all Route 6 and Foster?
Okay, yeah, if you look at the maps, they're numbered, they go,
It's 1, 2,
Oh,
3.
Connecticut border to
this is-
Central.
Okay, all
So
right.
it's
I'm
not-
sorry, I'm not.
Gotcha.
Okay.
There I am. Another map.
So there should be a little overlap between one to the next, so that you can kind
Yeah.
of figure out where you are.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
And what's the
I
scale of
see
these
it.
maps? Approximately?
It's,
Right here.
Well, here's 2.
There's a legend of them.
Right here.
yeah, it is,
Yep.
Right.
Well, 0.6 miles.
Yeah, right.
8
Mhm.
I asked your predecessor one time, about how much of the land on Route 6, how much of the lot on Route 6,
Mhm.
how much, she told me that less than 1% of the land area of Foster is devoted to GBM, which is their only business.
Honestly, I would say that's probably true,
So,
because I've seen a map, and
and do you know how many of the lots, I know you probably don't, but how many of the lots on Route 6 are actually GBM and
No.
not GBM?
There's actually a list in the zoning code, there's literally,
That list that you gave, this one is, this one here?
no, it's literally in the zoning code, when they changed, changed it to GBM from HC, they went through and,
If you have the old zoning book, it's some of the last pages, and it tells you what every lot is
it
zoned.
literally has the list of lots within the zoning code. Usually you don't see that, and it tells you what it was before and what it changed to.
list.
And this is just a
This
question,
is literally
and
the
it's gonna make me look like I'm giving you something else to do. But how many of the lots that are GBM right now are buildable?
That is a great question, so, what I should do is get the frontage information, will take me a little bit of time, and find out which one, from looking at the map, I can see which ones have wetlands, and I can eliminate that and figure out. But it is gonna take me a little bit of time. It took me-
Yeah, that's why I
Well,
asked for
because-
those maps with the overlays.
I don't,
So-
this is what I mean, Laura, she does that for a living, but
So,
Did she do these?
she didn't do these, I did these.
Okay.
So, I mean, well, I did a good job,
good
but.
work.
well,
Well, yeah,
the question is that we may have 1% or slightly less, I'm still slightly less than 1%. Okay, and
I
I said you agree with that. That's counting all the GBM lots that we have, whether they're actually buildable or not. So we may have somewhat south of half of 1% for businesses, because I know there's a lot of businesses that are gone that were probably GBM at the time. I don't know that, but I'm guessing.
it would be nice to see which lots, some are really tiny, but some are large, but maybe they have a lot of wetlands. So it would be nice to see which good lots
Okay,
out
now,
of this list.
now the entire rest of the zoning, I'm
Can
sorry.
I'm going to just interrupt you for 1 second and say that when we did the GBM things, we did try to not include the ones with standing water, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Now, also, Helen, did people were given a choice, like, there's a big chunk of land here, and I can't see or tell how many parcels are, but, if they weren't contiguous to Route 6, were they offered a chance to, or were they considered to have the zoning changed, or? Or is it just?
I recall that there, from past meetings, that you said that they were sent letters and they could appeal it. Were there any
No,
appeals?
my question,
Before they got the letters to appeal, oh no, actually, correct. You know, that if they wanted to change their zoning, then they could appeal it. So it wasn't even appealing. At that point, things weren't set in stone. And so if somebody had wanted their lot to be zoned general business mixed use, then they could have done that.
And did anyway. And what, was the appeal process before the
Did
planning?
anybody? I think
The
that
appeal
there
process, I
was.
think, with the
Yeah,
town
there
council.
I did.
What,
Well, the point is that
Yeah.
what I'm trying to, I guess, I'm trying to get it about it in a roundabout way, but we're
Yeah.
talking about zoning. And I'm trying to point out to everybody that the actual amount of zoning that we have that is actually business
Right.
is ridiculously minuscule.
okay, you've made that point 3 times.
But can I point something, can I make a comment? And that is that if, you know, the owner of this, you know, big parcel here on the west side wanted their land to be turned into general business mixed use, then they could come and
There's a process.
liking on the process, but then they could come to us, I
Request a
believe,
rezone.
and petition to have a zone change, and then we would approve or, you know, I mean, recommend or not recommend to the council. The council is who has to actually make the zone change, but we recommend or don't recommend.
I know there's a process, we just did a guy that wanted to do that. We had a guy before the board that wanted, he changed his from AR to GBM in order to build his house.
Business.
And
Business.
we
Okay.
pretty
Yes,
much
right.
put that man through a real rough time. And I don't think that you're gonna find somebody that researches that and finds out that they wanna go through the same process.
right.
Yes, Mark, go ahead, please.
All right, on the first map, the first map? Not the
cover one.
Not the cover, I'm sorry. On the first map, there's a large parcel of land here, right here, that could have multiple zones.
Great.
This area.
Now, I'm gonna go back to Cambio. When Cambio wanted to build his upper end housing, he was willing to go to every homeowner and give them money for an option to buy. And if he didn't get all the property, they got to keep the money. So he was so invested in that thing, he was gonna do option to buy. So looking at this large piece on the first map, bottom, right? If there were multiple zones or floating zones in that area, somebody then could go out and do option to buy. The way it is now, it's AR, right? And if the guy next door to you is selling to a warehouse, and you've got there's a piece of landlocked land here, that I drew the lines that you really can't see. There's a piece of landlocked land here. That guy might be willing to sell if the first guy did, and make a chunk of money. So, I'm gonna say to you, Rick, this is about Route 6, and it's about developing a zone to entice people to come here. It's not an argument about how we benefit from that. We have to benefit if it gives us money to build a police. If it doesn't affect taxes at all, lower taxes. It allows us to build a police station. It allows us to buy a highway truck. At this point, all we do is argue about everything. And
All right,
truthfully, that's it. I'll let you.
okay, thank you, Ron. I just think this is gonna be a very difficult process. I mean, we're gonna start by identifying potential parcels. I mean, there's an impetus, people the town council wants to look at economic development, and it's something that we've got to consider.
What you're also doing, okay, that I think a lot of it we're missing. If you look at the sheet you have here for all the pieces of land, I'm amazed at how many pieces of property, 7/10 of an acre, 1 acre, 1.8 acres. So there's a lot of land here that are probably zoned AR, okay, I don't know, or whatever, that are real small, or no matter what they're zoned, they're so small you couldn't do anything with them anyway.
Yeah.
So they give somebody an opportunity with the person next to them, if the person next to them has a little more property, they can do something. And
We already did that, isn't that what we did in 2010?
I'm sorry, one more time, what did we do?
I don't know what we did in 2004.
You gave people the option of becoming general business mixed use
Yes.
or staying residential.
Yes.
So if people made their choice, and that's the reason why it is the way it is today.
Okay, the dual zoning idea that I have in my mind, so you gave them a choice, but if it's there, what you're also doing is helping someone who wants to sell their home, let's say some of the homes that are on there. It's in an area,
For commercial purposes.
you know, I mean, that gives a guy an opportunity. I mean, there are a couple of, I say it again, just because it stands there in the red, white, and blue house, okay, it's foreclosed, nobody lives in there or whatever, okay? But the only way that could be sold is as residential, because it's a house, it's AR.
Then they have to come to us with that process.
Yeah, can I just say that if somebody wanted to buy it and make it a business, they would come to the.
And we would tell them no.
Why
And
do
you
you
gotta
say-
say
why do
that-
you say that?
Because it's,
Well, can I ask, what do you think should happen?
What?
What do you think should happen instead?
the person who owns that property, if he had an option to sell it commercial, or whatever letters we want to stick in front of it,
Right.
or residential, they would have another option to sell it. If he sold it as a commercial piece of property, somebody can come in there, I believe that has like 12, 13 acres or something. How many is it going, Gordon?
But
14 acres?
Anthony, he would just come here and say, you know, and petition the board to make it a general business mixed use zone. We would take a look at it, and I think it is in that, you know, area, you know, here, which is pretty much adjacent to, or, you know, other nodes.
I think he's in the, I don't know what zone he's in.
I'm sure he's AR.
It's AR,
I'm
correct?
sure he's
Just
AR.
let these two finish and then I'll get going.
Okay, I'm good. I'm all set.
And so he could come and, you know, ask to have that zone change.
So he has to take the shot. The person that buys it has to take a
No, no,
chance.
no,
As it
I'm saying
stands
the
right now.
seller, the seller, if the seller thought that they would be better to sell it as a commercial property, because mixed use means it can be either, right? Okay,
I guess.
and so that person would come to us and petition us, and presumably we would do the same thing, look at it and say, you know, is it underwater, is it appropriate? And, you know, it's on Route 6, so probably we're gonna say yes. And then that lot would be rezoned to GGM. It would be-
What I'm trying to do is make them not come here.
Okay, hold on, let's try and have an orderly discussion.
Yeah,
Are you
thank you.
finished now?
Just trying to make the process easier is really what it amounts to.
Just explain to me how that happens.
Okay.
I'm not understanding how you think that should happen. I would like to know.
Can I kind of paraphrase what I think he's doing? If you change the zoning so whatever it's called, it's amenable to commercial development, then it could be sold as that and they would not have to apply, it would bypass that.
Do you mean just
Is that correct,
rezone
Anthony?
all the lots on Route 6 as general business?
That's why I've been trying to make it That was my initial idea, either residential or commercial, and it gives somebody an opportunity to go either or.
Okay,
I
so, okay.
apologize, I
Okay, so-
did not understand that that's what you were.
Okay, so she understands now. Gordon's been waiting, I don't want to say anything.
No, I just want to add the point, I'll use the flag house as an example. Most people do not understand zoning, they just don't. Now, what that person should have done, let's say, if I owned a flag house on Route 6 and they went through the zoning and they would change it, and they were gonna change it to AR, and you had the permission to come and ask them, no, I don't want it AR, I want it GBM, I would have done that, because, simply stating, it's pre-existing residential. If you asked them to change it to GBM and they did that, they could not throw you out of the house. You would have had the best of both worlds. You could have sold the house as a residence because it's pre-existing, or if a Dunkin' Donuts wanted to come, you had the ability to sell it as a business.
Is that what I'm trying to do?
Well, that's what you're trying to do, but that could have been back then.
So, if I may, because I know,
Yes, please.
back when you did that whole rezone, people had the opportunity to come and say, I want it.
They did.
You have the ability to recommend to the council that all those people, open that back up to those people and make it an indefinite thing, or so that was like a 1-year time frame. You could open that back up indefinitely. Maybe you add some other uses to the GBM that allow big box or warehouse with a special use permit, so it encompasses more than just smaller companies, and then people don't have to come and have this whole petition. They can come as a right and say, my property's AR, it happened in the rezone, I want it to GBM. Done. Take
So-
away the fine.
So they either have it AR, or they come to us and we change it to,
They go to the council
and change it to GBM.
as of right, not as of, this is my request. This is,
Okay.
I have the right to
Okay,
be an issue.
as of right, so, now he changes it to GBM, and it's a house, let's say, he can't sell it as residential.
Yes, you can.
Why?
Pre-existing.
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 And maybe, what you wanna do is make sure that, can't you have a residence in a GBM? I thought you could.
It's by
What's that?
special use permit.
All right, so then, get rid of that. I don't know, think about when you make the suggestion that a
So-
residence be allowed in a GBM.
I didn't hear what
Oh, I said, it's only allowed by special use.
by special use.
So why don't you
So that-
make it a permitted use?
Hey, guys, you know, all the side talking, Helen's trying to take notes, she can't hear. You gotta have one conversation at a time, please.
Thank you.
Jeff's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Jeff. Is everyone, go ahead, Jeff. I don't see your hand.
I think that she hit the nail on the head. There's been a lot of people that come before the board and going through the process. It's a daunting process for anybody. And making that easier is a great idea. The other thing, this has nothing to do with the conversation, except in a strange way, and that is, that house is gonna be sold by HUD. It's not gonna be sold by an owner. I'm in that business, I know that house is gonna go by HUD. And we might consider applying for it under, they have several grants that allows towns to take some of this property, some of this foreclosed property. So, I just wanted to put that out there in case anybody has any interest in doing it.
And who would have to do that? It would have to be the town council. How would something like that be initiated?
You would have to
Sorry.
apply for grants, yes. In other large communities, like Warwick and stuff, they just automatically get some HUD money, but for the smaller communities, you have to compete for state. So the HUD gives money to the state, and the state divvies it out to the different communities. You have to have something that's very
We
appealing.
need that idea of
Yeah.
of that wood chip burning whatever plant.
That could be something that could
Exactly.
ask for funding, yes, you can.
And one, well, it's off topic if we get into biomass, right? But,
Yeah,
anyway.
so
You
maybe.
know, yes, Mike?
It's interesting conversation, but I think Jennifer hit the nail on the head. there are some logical courses of action we can take initially as part of the planning process. And it goes to what Ron said about digesting the blight ordinance. You know, make your priority list using what's already approved. So the important message from Jennifer for all of us is, in fact, we started out with an 18-month, or I believe it was 18 months we gave to decide whether they wanted to be AR or GBM. If that's historical, and that could be modified to ongoing, I don't really think it would change anything in terms of resistance, because you're gonna get, we all know, I think we're all smart enough to know we're gonna get pushback no matter what suggestions are made. But I think we've already gone through a huge process to identify the best business sites. We went through a dedicated process, open meeting, to allow everyone to have a choice, okay? And I think that may be the real point. And maybe this shouldn't have been a restricted period of choice. It should have been for Route 6, as Anthony pointed out, which is our primary development concern. That choice of whether you're AR or GBM should be ongoing.
And maybe if you offer that, I could do a little workshop to explain zoning a little bit for people who don't, they get the letter or whatever, and they say, oh, what does this mean? So that they could know a little bit about.
Because obviously last time people
They
got the
didn't
letter,
know.
No,
either they didn't know, they didn't understand, or they thought they understood and that was inappropriate. But I do think if you're gonna do that, that perhaps you wanna consider about the, not making a single-family home, with a special use permit. So that would alleviate some of the concerns you have, making that an allowed use, which makes sense.
because in reality, every homeowner on Route 6 probably should have came and asked to be GBM because they would have had both options
Right,
instead of just one.
Right.
And nobody did, I did, but most people didn't.
Most people did.
May I?
Most people were, I'm sorry.
They don't know zoning. Simple as that.
Most people were happy with the zone they were in at that time. And we did contact every owner.
Yeah, you did.
We did contact every owner on Route 6 and, explained what was happening. And people did have an option to change their zoning at that point.
Yeah,
And it was, it was the first time that we had done it, and so I'm not saying that we, nailed it at that time, but I think it was, I'm sure it was an improvement.
There's some good things.
And
but I think the idea of leaving it open was a good
Excuse me,
idea.
excuse me. No, the attorney should not be speaking unless they're asked a question, okay?
I think that the attorney is giving us advice on what we're talking about.
If she's asked a question, she's here to advise us.
I don't, is that, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I'm certainly not an
The
experienced
request seems to
chairman.
change every meeting. Sometimes I should run the meeting and other times I shouldn't speak. So
I
I'll keep my
would
ideas to
prefer
myself.
that people feel free to speak. And at this point, I don't know who's trained and knows the best way to do things, so I think we should take advice
Okay,
where we get it.
may I?
I just wanted
At
to.
some point, may I? For the
Yes,
sixth time.
Yes, but I'd like, while we're on that subject, Mike wanted to build on something Ellen was gonna say, so I'd like that to be done first, and we can take your comment.
Thank you.
Well, I felt real good about the last meeting because everybody was serious about what they were talking about. And I made notes about it, and so I remember. And what's the tie-in here is we just agreed the importance of a blight ordinance was based on the fact that most towns have one. And we didn't want to overstep on a blight ordinance and make it unreasonable a penalty. And so we're going to proceed on what the state statute is and what the town ordinances are. We're going to do some research and then come back with a plan. That's what we're supposed to do. So in this case, we have maps, okay? We have the plots, And one thing I think we all have to agree on, we've been here before, and rather than, so to speak, throw the baby out the window with the bathwater, let's learn from what we did and build on that, because we've got to get a consensus in the town. We don't want to have pushback and bad feelings and concerns from our citizens overtaking our efforts to try to improve business in the town. And we don't have an economic development council. We don't have dedicated professionals on board to guide us through this. So I think we should know what our resources are. And our resources right now are the things that we've done in the past, the things that we've seen happen, and the facts we have before us should give us a path to utilize all those resources and come up with a really good plan as a first step. And really the first step is gonna be, I think Anthony said, the first thing we gotta do is clean up Route 6, because that's our primary asset. Make it look better. How do you do that? Blight ordinance. And we've got to attract business to the town, which we've already got a lot of information on. Let's utilize that information. Let's not just sidestep. We can, especially if we have a precedent setting out, so to speak, an alternate course of action. And I agree with Gordon. I think everybody should have jumped right into that and said, yeah, I want to be GBM because I can do whatever I want with my property. And it wouldn't hurt anybody, okay? As long as it was a reasonable plan on their part, that would be the seller. So my suggestion is that we just take a deep breath, look at all the information we've got. And let's, again, let Jennifer come up with a good agenda for the next meeting and maybe set a time period. So we don't jump around quite so much. We got a little off track. There were lots and lots of conversation about related issues, business development, theories about business. So let's use Jennifer, she's an expert, to help us stick to an agenda on a timeline and come up with some reasonable suggestions for the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
may I?
Mr. Bond.
Okay, I'm gonna say, Mike, I find it very interesting that you give us the wrap-up of what everybody else has said, okay? And then say what I didn't say, but that's okay. The joke about insanity is you're supposed to learn from your mistakes. Okay, so what we did before didn't work. There's no discussion, there's no blame, there's no discussion about maybe the time limit wasn't long enough, maybe they didn't understand it. Outreach in this community, there is none. There's no town newspaper, okay? There's no outreach. So I'm gonna suggest again, this is a planning board issue and a council responsibility. Asking people to change, and 14 people change, and the one piece of property to get to that 14 pieces of property doesn't change, and what have you gained? So Anthony's suggestion, you call it floating zoning, the planner calls it floating zoning, all right? We develop floating zoning, one or two or three issues. We change some of the zoning, and we make a suggestion to the council who has the courage to take action. Because if you repeat the steps that we've already done and have expectation of different results, thank you.
On what's floating zone, please?
Let the planner, thank you.
So, floating zone is a zone that you would have defined in your zoning code, but it would be available to people to, not exactly petition, but they have the option of either going with one zone or the other. So they could be AR, and you could have a floating zone over a certain area, and somebody in that zone, in that floating zone could say, well, I don't want to be AR, I want to be whatever the floating zone is, and that could be commercial or whatever you want it to be.
In this case,
It's,
talking about
yes,
Route 6, it would
Yes.
either be GBM or AO.
in a way, or you could make a whole new zone.
Yeah, whole new zone.
You could make a whole new zone. But yeah, the floating is like, it floats on top of whatever is available, so you have either, it's like, it's what you're just calling dual zoning, but there's not, that's how they do it. They call it floating.
There you go.
So you have one, so everything has its own zone, but then you have floating.
Okay, so what do we have to do first? What are the first few steps that we need to?
I think that I do need to find out more information from the parcels, like I do need to find out, you know, who is buildable and who is not, which means finding out the frontage and exactly which, you know, what properties could be developed, and then you can see how many can't be. That's
So
one thing.
that's a lot of
one thing
work,
for
that's
me.
a lot
That
of
is a
work,
lot
right?
for me too, but that's something I think you need to know.
Yes.
So
That's
we'll,
mine.
are we okay with having Jennifer proceed along that route and keep us apprised of the progress?
Yep.
Do we need to, I guess this might be putting the cart before the horse, do we need, there's gotta be some legal zoning ordinance change or something that allows this, so is that something that
Absolutely.
can be?
So you guys don't, you know, it's all the town council that votes on the zoning, but you would as the planning board, you would write it or
Oh,
develop
lovely,
it.
lovely.
Yeah, no, planning.
That's what
planning
When
Is
we
it-
advise that, but they
Yeah.
vote on it.
Planning has,
Would we determine criteria and give it to the attorney to write?
planning in the past has created the.
It's kind of like a
whatever it is,
separation,
And then the.
it's a separation of responsibilities, so you're writing it, the zoning board judges, that's why they're separate, they judge it, and then the council actually like,
So it
says.
I'm sorry. So it exists, some people are already doing this, someplace that we can plagiarize again? Is the quickest
I mean,
way to get
floating
there.
zone is just really is a whole new zone, and every town is different. I mean, and every,
All right,
honestly, when I saw Foster zoning, I was surprised at, well, it was very limited on the commercial, but there aren't very many zones.
Yes.
Like I've seen other places where you zone like a certain village, like say Clayville has its own zone, and then you have like different spots. So-
We don't have a
But it's a
residential
lot of
zone.
work.
A residential zone,
It's a lot of work.
all right? Just a residential zone, okay, where houses are crowded together. And I want to use, again, where Jeff lives. There's not 300-foot frontage there, and that should be a residential zone, that little node of a residential zone. It shouldn't be AR. In Massachusetts, because we're on this, in Massachusetts, you can live in a residential neighborhood, have 2 pigs, 6 chickens, and two sheep, and it's legal in a residential zone. So, we don't have enough zones,
That's, yeah. that's
number
kind
of
what I-
zones.
And I don't know who brought this up to me, but somebody did mention, which was, I thought, a very interesting idea, is to have a separate residential and a separate, like, agricultural residential, where you can be, you know.
I did.
Was it you? Yeah, that was, because we had that issue the last meeting where we said, what's the definition of rural? So maybe you have like very rural, and then it's just an idea.
okay, so in order to advance that, do you people want to give me your ideas in writing individually? Is that okay? And I will try to synthesize something.
Actually,
No,
you
no.
need to send it to me, right, because of open meeting law, yeah.
I'm sorry?
You need to send the information, you can't discuss
Send
it
to you?
between, yeah, that's because of open meeting law.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sort of, I can talk to each.
Yeah,
union.
okay, that's fine. I don't really want the job anyway.
Yeah.
I have a life already. So get your ideas to Jennifer and she'll bring them together and,
I mean, I think, you can talk to me individually, through email or whatever, or come in and talk to me. I mean, it would be interesting to find out if you're interested in the floating zone, if you're interested in Joanna's idea of like just opening it up to GB. There's changing GB to allowing, right, residential, changing the uses. There's coming up with a whole new zone. There's a lot of different options. If you could tell me what direction you're going in, and then I can kind of see where everybody,
Can it be restricted to those, Joanna's suggestion, can it be restricted to like Route 6 and 101? Does it have to affect all AR?
It is restricted to Route 6.
My
Well,
suggestion would be any lot that got, kind of ate up in that Route 6 rezone would have the option. And if you wanted to extend that to other lots, you'd have to create some new language for that.
So in other words, we can restrict it to a certain area. So would that be better? 'Cause I don't think
honestly,
anybody
that would
wants to
probably be
change
your
it.
easiest thing to do, is to open up, as Joanna said, to open it up again with it, because otherwise you're talking about creating a whole new zone and going through that.
Helen, how much of the Route 6 was zoned highway commercial?
94 to the state line on both sides, 450 feet in.
All of it, from
So strip mall.
Connecticut
In the
line,
strip.
from the Connecticut line to Situate, the whole
Long length?
length of it for 400 feet on
Mhm.
either side of Route 6.
So from state line down to Route Situate, to Situate, everybody had that choice to do that. Would you just say about 450?
From 6 and 90, it was from 94, 6 and 94 to the state line, not the Situate line. It was spot zone, like Sam's Welding was,
No,
zone.
Sam's and the
450 feet.
The 450 feet zone went from 90, yeah, but the 450 foot zone went from 94 and Route 6 to the state line. From that side, it wasn't. His house was not zoned highway commercial.
Neighborhood commercial.
Right,
Were you highway commercial?
no,
Neighborhood.
Neighborhood,
Yeah.
neighborhood
yes.
commercial, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Just a suggestion.
Neighborhood commercial.
It's a big-
450 foot.
This is
Highway.
and I'm not contributing anything, I'm just saying, this is a big issue, and I think that's a good idea to do this step by step. So we don't get off track, we actually start accomplishing some things, okay? And he's, obviously the planner and the attorney have given us some thought, we've all contributed, let's decide what the priority is, and the priority is, as the planner said, let's see what's buildable, okay? Let's not get crazy and start assuming that 400-foot path on both sides of Route 6 is potential, because knowing what you've got is important. So that's a real good first step. And then from then on, I think all of us know it's very difficult to get things changed, so the most, not that you don't want to make any change, but you want to make effective changes. Something you can do right away to get things moving, that you can build on. I think that goes to singling out Route 6. Let's not get scattered up and start fires everywhere, because it's not going to accomplish anything. We don't have the resources to do that, guys. We don't have the resources. We don't have the enforcement resources to get what we want done right now. And that goes to the money we're going to generate from the rezoning. So let's be realistic. I'm just saying, I'm really interested in getting something done every time we meet, because we shouldn't be talking about that. We should be building on a plan. And we should record what we're doing and schedule what we're gonna do next, and report back to the council, the way we normally do with our planner's report. So she has something to contribute every time she publishes that planner's report, so this is what we've done at item A, B, C, or whatever we wanna call them. Not to restrict anybody's ideas,
let's stay focused.
Sounds good. So are we good with this agenda item for tonight? All right. Future agenda items?
Policies and procedures, waiting for that to come back on the agenda.
I don't remember that. What was,
Uh,
policies and procedures for
Policies
what?
and- for this, how this board operates.
We had.
We had a discussion.
We had something passed up.
Workshop.
Was all we had.
We had a workshop and we stated that we would come back to address some of the ideas that were thrown around at the workshop.
But we've forgotten all the ideas by now, but that's okay.
Okay,
Can I ask for a future agenda item, can we discuss next time, summer schedule?
sure. But to get back to policies and procedures, so you're ready to do something, or the next step is for you, Joanne, to do some training on that?
Well, there was a bunch of suggestions, but nobody voted on it, so, we had a lot of ideas, but there was no determination. So if we want to come back and either add something, because we don't have bylaws, we have this procedural guidelines. So if there were things that wanted to be added, or if you wanted to use Roberts versus Democratic Rules of Order, those were the two options that were kind of put on the table, I think. Or if there are some things that you want to pull from Roberts and add them to our rules of procedure, that makes more sense, that's something else.
I'm the only one that worked with this Democratic Rules of Order, so I don't want to change at this point to learn something else, not that I even mastered that. And the first thing that you said before the Rules of Order was just bylaws.
So we have a list of policies and procedures as far as how the meetings are going to run, and we can add to those. So if there are certain specifics that each, and
Okay.
people talked about some of that.
Is that what was passed out before?
Yes,
Okay, everyone has it already, or should we pass it out again and ask for revisions so that when we put it on the agenda, we can have something specific to talk about?
we can email it again.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
email the
And
mock, yeah.
No, it's
not
just
the
that-
rules
it's
of
just
order,
that one
just
page.
policies.
That one
and
page, the
procedures.
policies and procedure, yeah. And so if anybody has any suggestions for additions, just bring them to the meeting.
An example of policies and procedures. All those in favor? Did you vote? I didn't hear you. Policies and procedures. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Now you have to vote. And the vote is recorded because everybody has spoken loudly. So that's a policy and procedure.
So you want to write that out?
No, I just, an example of a policy and procedure.
Jennifer will send them around and everybody can bring
I'm not
suggestions.
sure that you can put all that kind of stuff in a policy and procedure.
There is a way to run a meeting.
You want to do everything to everything, and I just, I don't know how much time everyone can put into this, but we should just gotta take
If
it.
you don't have the time, you should probably find something else to do.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
For future agenda items, or rather for the June 20th agenda, summer schedule.
Yes.
And just the background is, well, I know that the first Wednesday in July is the 4th, and so we're not
Yes.
meeting up there. I think the council has sometimes in the past, and the planning board in the past has sometimes in July and August held one meeting rather than two. And so I don't know what the pleasure is of the board, but
We can talk
about that next
discuss that at the next meeting.
Another future agenda, item, the marijuana ordinance. And in that discussion, I would like some information about how that ordinance got pushed up to the council without a vote from this board.
There was a vote.
To move it to the council? Okay, sorry.
It was probably like January,
All right,
it was
well,
a very
well,
long time ago.
No. And, policies and procedures, new business, old business, and the schedule should follow. policies and procedures completely fell off the schedule. So who would remember? Only the person that wants it discussed. Old business, new business. Council, look at the councils, the way they write their agenda. We might want to follow it. You do something right.
Thanks. I only follow protocol. I just want to mention that there are 3 applications to, on June 20th that are scheduled. So we might not.
Applications for what?
Um,
Solar farm?
Cell tower, solar farm, and a minor subdivision.
A windmill, is there a windmill on here?
No,
Is there one that has?
we have restricted, the number of items on an agenda to what we think will fit. So like scheduling 2 solar farms and wind turbine.
Well, that's not what I want, it's all free,
I'm just kidding. You know, but,
You can bring that up policies and procedures.
there you
We're gonna have the blight ordinance stuff on the next one, correct?
Yes, I would, yes.
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah.
letting you know that
That
those
should
are
be-
coming.
On the next meeting, we got 3 things? Forget that, forget whatever we're doing, because it ain't, I mean, it's not gonna
That
happen.
would be my,
Yeah, kick the can down the road some more.
but we got the fellow coming back to,
Yeah.
go. Oh, right,
yeah.
that's right.
That
'cause
should
we've
be,
gotta
maybe
do
we can
that-
put him in
that
first.
side.
You can put the blight ordinance on there if we get a few minutes, just,
Yes.
if we get, you know.
Should,
Yeah,
try.
I mean, let's see, the basketball championship will be over by then, and there's really no rush to like go home. I mean, just American.
Everything.
I make a motion to adjourn. How's that, Anthony? Help you out?
Yes, thank you. Do we have to second that?
no.
Second.
There's no,
There's no-
motion to
Okay,
adjourn can be made, is appropriate in time, does not need a second, and must be voted on at that time.
Oh, so we
No
have to vote.
discussion. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, all those in favor of
Which
adjourning?
you wrote.
Right, nothing.
Aye.
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 That smile that Helen had there, that was scary.